The Cuban Missile Crisis is not only the closest the United States ever came to nuclear war, it's also a story of intelligence, exposing the truth about this threat which could have ended in a nuclear war.
Very few people fully appreciate DIA's role during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Our experts, our leadership, the manner by which we pursued tenaciously exposing the truth was absolutely critical in the resolution of that crisis.
As the 1950s came to a close, friction between the United States and the Soviet Union escalated. We have a series of events happening, such as the Berlin Wall, the fall of Cuba to the communists, the Bay of Pigs, and a U-2 flight was shot down. As all of this is happening, Khrushchev explodes the largest nuclear weapon in history. This was a weapon that was 1,500 times larger than the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombs combined, 10 times larger than all of the ordnance exploded in World War II combined. And as a response to that, the United States explodes more than 30 nuclear weapons in Nevada. The use of so many nuclear weapons and testing between the United States and the Soviet Union and the escalation of tensions really led the American public to believe that nuclear war was imminent.
Both the Soviet Union and the United States of America prepared its populace for the possibility of a nuclear war.
Every single event that was happening grew the tension more and more, so that even in schools they were teaching children to go underneath desks and worry about radioactive contamination. While everything is escalating, the Defense Intelligence Agency is created, and it's created effectively because there was a greater need to have a unified intelligence within the Department of Defense, specifically on the Soviet Union and on Cuba as well.
DIA and the larger intelligence community had made the assessment that it was highly unlikely that the Soviets would take the gamble to place nuclear devices 90 miles off our shore. Colonel John Wright was DIA's chief of the Latin American section. He had been looking at Cuba and noticed that there was increased shipments of arms, as well as human reports, which had a variety of accounts by Cuban exiles that had been debriefed in Miami, who provided interesting accounts of long objects being transported throughout Cuba.
We were trying to figure out where they were putting these big SA-2 surface-to-air missiles. Cuba is an island. If they want to defend against a U.S. attack, they would be on the periphery, primarily aimed north. What we discovered was that inland, they were putting these missiles in what you would call a point defense, pretty close together around something precious, something very valuable.
Colonel Wright's analysis that the Soviet Union was placing a strategic base in Cuba was being proven correct. The implications of what was happening in Cuba rose to a level that Colonel Wright and DI leadership believed that it was critical that we inform Secretary of Defense McNamara about what we believed was happening there.
The presence of SA-2s convinced the Kennedy administration that it was too much of a risk to allow U-2s to fly over the island. However, Colonel Wright and the company of analysts continued to press very hard for the HUMINT and the IMINT that convinces the Kennedy administration an additional flight was warranted. The flight of 14 October 1962 went over western Cuba. The U-2 was able to gather 928 images. We had the right photo interpreters to pore over that large amount of imagery and identify that indeed the Soviets had placed nuclear-capable missiles in Cuba.
The Defense Intelligence Agency was stood up, put to the test immediately, and came out being able to show that it was competent, capable, and able to do its mission. The intelligence provided by the Defense Intelligence Agency and the intelligence community ultimately proved the difference between what could have been a nuclear war and what actually turned out to be a diplomatic solution.